AFC West, I feel the same way. It's inches, not feet. I think the Chargers empowered their run game, and they're going to be a ball control offense with two great tackles, a great coach, a great quarterback, and two excellent running backs. They also upgraded at tight end. I think they're going to be not as much sizzle as you may want, but they're just going to ground teams. It'll be classic Jim Harbaugh in year two. You will be looking at a team that is completely different than they were 2 years ago. Chiefs still win 10-11, maybe 12, but they finish second, Broncos and Raiders. Didn't love the Broncos draft.
Didn't love the Broncos draft. Denver Broncos miss the playoffs, according to Colin. Yeah. I'm not sure if he said it here or like later in this clip, or if he said it in like follow up a little bit later after when they were just kind of like talking back and forth. But he said he thinks that like the Broncos will win like 10 games because J Mac's like, oh, what does your buddy Sean Payton say about this? And has the Broncos missing the playoffs? Listen, this year is going to be so fascinating to me because look, he has the Chiefs just limping into the playoffs essentially. Right, like they're just right there. They're the 7 seed. I've said this when I did this clip as a whole, when I did like the whole division the whole conference, and I did it for both conferences. I feel like it's going to be one of those years, which we've had a lot now recently, where it really is where it's like you win this one game. And it's like you're seen as a contender, man. You're in the playoffs. Nobody wants to face you. Oh my goodness, etc., etc. The team that might play you, you're really hoping that team loses, so you get to have an easier matchup against. I'm totally making this up. The Patriots or whatever it may be. And you're just like, oh yeah, we don't want to face you. Like, well, so the Texans really lucked out having to play the Patriots instead of the Broncos, right? One of those types of situations where it's like, if you win, hey man, like you are a true playoff contender, and if you lose, it's just you just came up short. And very similar to what we saw with the Vikings and the Lions last season, where it was like you win the game, you're the number 1 seed. You lose the game, you drop down to the 5th seed. I see this now so close, but it's going to be so funny because we know injuries happen. We know teams kind of get disconnected early on, like the Patriots. Maybe the Patriots will be a pretty good team, but it's going to take them a few weeks to like get rolling. And like they're just disconnected. Drake May's a little, just not comfortable. Then they get rolling. Kind of like what happened with the Bengals, except not exactly. And because of that, now they're really hanging on a thread to be able to make the playoffs, or they even miss the playoffs, like the Bengals, for instance. And I just think like those types of situations are so hard to predict. CJ Stroud goes down for 2 games, just like what happened with Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. Like, but fortunately for them, they were able to still win those games with Malik Willis. So those things will always literally be impossible to predict and how it'll influence the playoffs. And so that's where it's just like, if you're not going to win the division, or if you don't believe you're going to win the division, then it's like, okay, how do you make the playoffs? Here's what's so interesting, because Colin doesn't even have them making the playoffs, and yet Vegas has the Denver Broncos. I made a video about it. Vegas has the Denver Broncos as a top team to win the AFC. If memory serves me correctly, it's the Bills and the Ravens tied, then the Chiefs, then the Bengals, then the Broncos, which is pretty extraordinary. And now they're not even getting into the playoffs. And it's just like, I find that fascinating. Again, according to Colin, this is 2 obviously different predictions. One's mathematical, one is opinion. We know Colin's not a hater of Denver. We know that he loves Sean Payton, he loves Bo Nix, so it's like, I don't think we have to jump and be like, oh, Colin, is being a hater, he's doubting. Like, we know that's not the case. What I think it comes down to is the belief in the Chargers, which I could understand, and the Chiefs still being the Chiefs. What's interesting is then if you believe the Chiefs and the Chargers are still going to be great and playoff teams, and Colin doesn't even really think the Chiefs are going to be necessarily that great, Well, then the question is can the Broncos then beat the Bengals and the Patriots? If you're looking at it through Colin's lens, right? This is what I'm talking about, specifically through Colin's lens. And then I'll look at the more general lens. It's kind of interesting to be like, you think the Patriots will be better, but is it because you think they're going to be better? Or is it because they have an easier schedule and there's easier wins in that division, like the Dolphins and the Jets, whereas the Broncos have to play the Chiefs, the Chargers, and, I'm sorry to say, I think the Raiders are going to be a better team. Even if they're not going to be a great team, we'll have to wait and see. They're not going to be you're not going up against Gardner Minshew right now, and you're not going up against a newly fired coach. Like, they're going to be a harder team to beat. I just think that's the reality. So if a team's not going to make the playoffs, I try to figure out, is there a way for them to be great and awesome and still miss the playoffs? And typically, no, unless you have some injuries or you got off to a ridiculously slow start, either because of injuries or just because. It feels a little rare that you could be a truly, like, really, really, really good team. You could be a decent team, but if you don't make the playoffs, it's probably because you were really inconsistent and you had too many ups and downs and you dropped, you lost to the Titans when you clearly should have beaten them. And, it just seems a little bit more straightforward. And so you could be like, yeah, they're pretty good. They had moments when they were great. They played the Eagles well and they played the Chiefs well, but, like, then they lost to the Titans and got dominated by the Texans. Like, what do you want? What do you want me to say about that? And so that's where it's kind of like, well, where can the Broncos fit now? Right? And that's where I'm trying to wrap my head. When I first go through someone else's prediction like this, I try to figure out, well, what's your logic? How are you getting there? And I try to look beyond just, well, they have a tough schedule and a tough division. And it's like, okay, that can be part of it. That is how you could be a great team and still miss the playoffs, because you're going up against other great teams within your division. And you're going and you have the unfortunate luck of having to go against all these other great teams on the road, out of the division, etc., etc. And it's just like, there's just not enough wins, and you're not going to be able to get in by winning the division. The other wild card teams have awful divisions, and so the math would add up to a degree, but it's just, you kind of have to work to figure it out. Which is why when I look at all these teams, like, I do think the Patriots will be better, and I do think they have an easier schedule and an easier division. I do think the Bengals will be better. They have an easier schedule, but I was going to say a tough division, but, like, I don't know, the Browns and the Steelers, who the heck's the quarterback for the Steelers? The Browns, who the heck cares who the quarterback is? And the Ravens will be good. So, like, there'll be wins there for them. And then if we're looking at the other wild card team, the Chiefs have to play this division. So the way how I almost look at it as, more than anything, for the Broncos to be able to make the playoffs is like, are you better than the Chiefs? And believe me, I know a lot of Broncos fans are like, dude, this is a long-winded way of saying, like, you're wrong. The Broncos can win the division. And I don't actually doubt that or reject that. I do think it's going to be a dogfight. I've said this many times. I think this division is absolutely going to be brutal. And I've said this in every single one of my AFC, videos, where I'm just like, I really can't wait. And it's going to come down to all the unpredictable stuff, which is why it's so hard to make videos about this in May. I mean, it is. I appreciate the entertainment. I appreciate the content. I appreciate just being able to sit back and have Colin say this so we all get to talk about it and it's interesting. And then I share my take, you share your take. Like, I can appreciate it, but it's like, if anyone has any truly idea how the Broncos and the Chargers week 7 is going to look on the road, I just have no idea. I really, really don't. Like, I could make zero predictions. Were you really going to predict that the Broncos had that game in the bag against the Chiefs, but then you had a blocked field goal as time expired? I mean, come on. Of course not. Of course not. Bo Nix throwing that dime against the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, like, missed field goals. I mean, like, that game was one of the wildest games of the season. And the reality is that when you're in such a tough division, and when you still have a collection of great teams in the conference, it's going to come down to that bizarre stuff. Are you on the receiving end, or are you on the giving end of those bizarre stuff? Are you getting your field goal blocked, or are you the one blocking the field goal? That's the difference, I believe, to win the division, make the playoffs, and be the team that people are like, oh, I really hope we play the Texans, not the Broncos, or oh my God, I really hope the Patriots beat the Jets in the final week so we don't have to go up against the Broncos. We would be, oh, dude, the Ravens, if they have to go up against the Patriots, that's the easiest game. The Broncos, that's a tough one. Bo Nix is on a heater. That D-line has been ruthless. Like, I think that's what it comes down to more than anything. And so it's just like, but will it come down to you win the division or you completely fall out? Like, I don't know. And, I'm never afraid to say I don't know. I'm not going to just be confident. Like, I know I can make a video right now and say, this is ridiculous. Of course the Broncos are going to make the playoffs. Of course they're going to win the division. They should be the front runner, this, that, and the third. And everyone's gonna be like, yeah, that's awesome. But it's just like, I just think this division's crazy. I mean, the division's crazy and the conference is crazy. But I still see a team like the Patriots, and like that rubs me the wrong way. It rubs me the wrong way to see the Patriots there, and even the Texans. But then when you realize how schedules work and and obviously divisional and playoff structure, you're kind of like, can the Broncos be a great team and still miss the playoffs because they have to play the Chiefs twice, the Chargers twice, the Raiders twice, and the Patriots get to play the Jets, the Dolphins. Tua just had another wrist surgery. Tyreek Hill is dealing with everything a human being could possibly deal with, right? Like, it's kind of a mess. And I think to get a stronger sense of and to be able to get more firmer predictions for all of this, I feel like I want to see the schedule itself. I know we know the teams, but I really want to see the order of the schedule. I think that matters more so than it has in recent years for a handful of these teams. And I think it's going to matter. I think the Broncos and the Chiefs and the Chargers, really the whole division, I think it's going to matter for this team, for sure. So I'm a huge, huge believer in the Broncos. I was surprised to see Colin say this. I think it gets boiled down to that he thinks that the Bengals and the Patriots are just going to have easier paths. Obviously, the Bills and the Ravens and the Texans are going to be in the driver's seat to win their division. No doubt, no matter how confident you feel about the Broncos, I still think winning this division would be tough. Even if you think they're going to win the division, it's hard for me to believe that there's going to be many Broncos fans that could be confident that they're going to win 13 games and everyone else is only going to win 10 games, right? Like they're going to clinch the division by week 15 or something. Like, I personally don't see that. And I think even the most, super Broncos fan would be hard to see that as well. So that's why it's going to be brutal. I think this is the NFC North. The only difference is do the Raiders become the Bears, where everybody thought, hey, the Raiders are going to be pretty good, but instead they win like 5-6 games, and like there's games that they should have won in division, but they're like, nah, we don't need this win. You take it, Detroit Lions. You take it, Green Bay. We don't want it. It makes us uncomfortable winning games. We don't like it, and that benefited the Lions, the Vikings, and the Packers. I mean, that had massive, the Bears' mistakes had massive playoff repercussions. Massive. It's a difference between the Vikings having the 1 seed or the Eagles having the 1 seed. It's the difference between the Eagles playing in the final game of the season against the Giants, which Saquon Barkley could have went down. Jalen Hurts concussed. Like, real things could have happened. We saw that with the Ravens. Ravens had to play the final week. Zay Flowers goes down, isn't in the playoff game. Game, set, match. Like, all of those things have real repercussions. And I think this division, there's going to be real massive repercussions, which is, it's going to make it playoff repercussions, it's going to make it exciting and dramatic. Those are just my thoughts. Hopefully that made sense. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Colin Cowherd leaving the Denver Broncos out of his playoff prediction? Maybe they could make it in the playoffs in the NFC. I don't know. But let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're all on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.